The dimensional rift opened without warning during what should have been a routine press conference in Manhattan. One moment, Madeline Stillwell stood at the podium outside Vought Tower, cameras fixed on her perfect smile as she announced the Seven's new youth outreach program. The next moment, reality tore open 300 feet above her head. Android 18 had been mid-flight, chasing after Cell's energy signature through a collapsing pocket dimension. The android's fist had connected with the bioweapon's face when the unstable space folded in on itself. Then, nothing. No key signatures, no familiar energy patterns, just free fall through alien sky toward an unfamiliar cityscape. She crashed through the glass canopy of Vaught's outdoor stage at terminal velocity. The impact crater was 12 feet deep. The shockwave shattered windows for 3 blocks. Car alarms shrieked in panicked chorus. Madeline Stillwell flew backward into the Vought Tower entrance, her Prada heels spinning through the air. Cameras tumbled, news crews dove for cover. The carefully choreographed PR event dissolved into screaming chaos. In the smoking crater, Android 18 pushed herself to her feet and dusted debris from her denim vest. Her infinite energy reactor hummed steadily in her chest, undamaged, fully operational. She scanned her surroundings with cold blue eyes. Wrong planet, wrong dimension, wrong everything. Above the crater, helicopter rotors thundered. Police sirens wailed from every direction, and standing at the edge of the impact zone, untouched by the destruction, stood a figure in an American flag cape. Homelander descended slowly, cape rippling in manufactured wind, his smile gleaming white and predatory. Well, well, that's quite an entrance. His voice carried over the chaos with practiced ease. I'm Homelander, America's greatest hero, and you just crashed my company's press conference. Android 18 levitated out of the crater without effort, rising to eye level with him. No flight mechanism, no visible propulsion, just impossible defiance of gravity. She studied him with the dispassion of someone who'd fought gods and won. Where am I? New York City, Earth. Though judging by that entrance, you knew that already. Homelander's eyes began to glow red. Here's how this works. You come with me quietly, we figure out what you are, and maybe, I don't turn you into a stain on the pavement. 18 tilted her head slightly. She'd heard similar threats from creatures who could crack mountains. This man, whoever he was, radiated energy, but nothing like the key signatures she knew. Something artificial, something chemical. You're threatening me? I'm giving you a choice. Wrong answer. She moved faster than the cameras could track. One moment she hovered across from Homelander. The next, her palm struck his chest with precisely calibrated force, enough to send him hurtling backward through the air without killing him. He crashed through a Vought International billboard 3 blocks away, the metal framework crumpling around his body. The crowd's screams intensified. More helicopters appeared. Android 18 sensed dozens of energy signatures converging on her position, weak compared to what she was used to, but coordinated. Organized. This world had powered individuals, but they felt wrong somehow. Artificial, mass-produced. Homelander exploded from the wreckage, hair disheveled, cape torn, face twisted with rage. Do you have any idea who I am? Someone who talks too much. Android 18 raised her hand, energy crackling between her fingers. Not a full blast, just enough to make her point. The yellow key sphere pulsed with more raw power than anything in this dimension had seen. Homelander stopped midair. For the first time in his existence, genuine uncertainty flickered across his face. That energy, it didn't read like anything in Vaught's databases, not compound V, not any known variant. Something fundamentally other. From the Vought Tower entrance, Madeline Stillwell staggered to her feet, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. Her mind raced through implications and opportunities even as her assistant screamed into a phone. Unknown soup, immeasurable power, no record in any database, either the greatest threat Vought had ever faced or the greatest asset. She wiped blood from her face and smiled. Android 18 watched the woman's expression change from fear to calculation. She'd seen that look before. On Dr. Jarrow's face, on Red Ribbon Army commanders, on anyone who looked at power and saw profit. "Homelander, stand down." Stillwell's voice cut through the chaos with surprising authority. The flying man's head snapped toward her, confusion and anger warring in his expression. "Our guest clearly didn't mean to crash our event. Let's show her Vought hospitality. She attacked me. You threatened her first." Stillwell walked forward on unsteady heels, every step calculated despite the blood on her face. "I'm Madeline Stillwell, Senior Vice President of Vought International. Whatever you are, wherever you're from, we can help you." Android 18 dispersed the energy sphere. "I don't need your help." "Maybe not, but you need information." Stillwell gestured at the smoking crater, the shattered stage, the panicked crowds. "You're not on your Earth anymore, are you? Different dimension, different rules, different everything." The android said nothing, but Stillwell saw the micro-expression. Brief confusion quickly masked. Confirmation enough. "We have resources, technology, information networks. We can figure out where you are, maybe even how you got here." Stillwell's smile widened. "All we ask is conversation, 1 hour, Datisti. Then you're free to go wherever you want." Android 18 looked at Homelander, still hovering, fists clenched, ego wounded, then at the converging military vehicles, the circling helicopters, the world watching through 1,000 camera lenses. She'd been in worse situations, and if this Vought organization had information, she'd extract it and leave. 1 hour, she said flatly. "Then I walk away." "Of course." Stillwell gestured toward the tower. "Right this way." As they walked toward the entrance, Homelander descended beside Stillwell, his voice a harsh whisper. "She made me look weak on live television." "She made you look restrained," Stillwell hissed back. "And we're going to find out exactly what she is. Then we own her or we destroy her. Those are the only options." Android 18 heard every word. Her hearing was far beyond human range. She said nothing, filing the information away. This world's heroes were puppets, and whoever pulled the strings just invited her into their headquarters. Perfect. If you want to see more characters enter the boys' universe, smash that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. Some battles aren't about saving the world, they're about exposing the truth. Vought Tower's executive elevator rose in silence, broken only by the hum of machinery and Homelander's barely controlled breathing. Android 18 stood with arms crossed, her expression neutral while cataloging every detail. Reinforced walls, useless against her strength. Security cameras in every corner. She'd disabled surveillance systems before. Madeline Stillwell's reflection in the polished steel doors showed a woman already planning 3 moves ahead. The elevator opened onto the 82nd floor. Corporate luxury stretched in every direction. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, abstract art worth millions. A dozen people in expensive suits stopped mid-conversation to stare at the woman in denim and torn sleeves who'd just cratered their press conference. "Conference room 7, Stillwell said, gesturing down a hallway. "Ashley, damage control on the street incident. Spin it as a surprise demonstration of Vought's emergency response capabilities." A red-haired woman with manic energy nodded frantically. "On it. What about her?" She pointed at Android 18. "She's our guest." Stillwell's tone made it clear the discussion was over. The conference room was all glass and chrome, dominated by a table that could seat 20. Homelander positioned himself by the windows, arms crossed, jaw tight. 2 others waited inside, a woman in a black tactical suit with cold eyes, and a massive black man whose muscles strained against his combat gear. "Queen Maeve," Stillwell introduced, "and Black Noir, part of the 7, America's premier superhero team." Android 18 scanned them both. Enhanced physiology, chemical augmentation, stronger than baseline humans but nowhere near Saiyan levels. "Superhero team," she repeated flatly. "You mean corporate mascots?" Maeve's expression flickered, surprise then something like bitter amusement. Homelander's eyes flashed red. Watch your mouth. Facts aren't insults. Android 18 pulled out a chair and sat, radiating complete unconcern. I saw your billboard, action figures, breakfast cereals, movie deals. Your products, not heroes. And what are you? Stillwell slid a tablet across the table. Because our scans are showing some very interesting readings. No compound V in your system, no known biological enhancements. Yet you sent Homelander through a building with one hit. Android 18 glanced at the tablet displaying her energy signature, represented as incomprehensible waveforms and error messages. I'm not from your world, different dimension, different rules. Bullshit, Homelander snapped. There's no such thing as, you can shoot lasers from your eyes and fly, 18 interrupted. But dimensional travel is where you draw the line? Silence. Maeve coughed to hide a laugh. Black Noir remained perfectly still, but Android 18 sensed increased heart rate, curiosity, or threat assessment she couldn't tell. Stillwell leaned forward, fingers steepled. Let's say we believe you. You're from another dimension. How did you get here? Accident during combat. Portal opened. I fell through. Android 18 met Stillwell's gaze without blinking. I need to find a way back. Combat with what? Something you couldn't comprehend. Homelander pushed off from the window. Try me, sweetheart. I've fought the worst this planet has to offer. I've destroyed planets. The words dropped like stones into still water. Not intentionally. Collateral damage from fights with beings who could crack continents. Your worst wouldn't survive 30 seconds against what I've faced. The room temperature seemed to drop. Stillwell's expression never changed, but her fingers tightened slightly. Maeve shifted her weight. Black Noir's hand moved fractionally toward a concealed weapon. Planets, Stillwell repeated carefully. You're saying you have the power to destroy a planet. I'm saying I've been present when planets were destroyed, whether I could do it alone. Android 18 shrugged. Never tried. Seemed wasteful. Homelander laughed, high and brittle. You expect us to believe? Android 18 raised one hand. Energy crackled around her palm, yellow, white, and brilliant. The lights in the conference room flickered. Electronics whined. The windows vibrated in their frames. She channeled a fraction, a tiny fraction of her power into visible form. Then she closed her fist and the energy vanished. That's my restraint, she said quietly. I could have vaporized this building when I crashed. I didn't. I could have killed your Homelander when he threatened me. I didn't. Not because I'm afraid, because I'm not interested in senseless destruction. Stillwell recovered first. Years of managing superhuman egos and catastrophes had prepared her for the impossible. Then what are you interested in? Going home, that's it. We can help with that. Stillwell pulled up files on her tablet, scientific divisions, research departments, dimensional physics theories. Vought has the best minds and resources on the planet. If there's a way to send you back, we'll find it. In exchange for? Cooperation, tests, scans. Help us understand your energy signature, and Stillwell paused, choosing words carefully. Temporary assistance with certain situations that require your particular skill set. You want me to join your corporate superhero team. Android 18's voice dripped skepticism. I want mutual benefit. You get research support for returning home. We get access to someone whose power dwarfs anything we've encountered. Android 18 stood, not interested. Wait, Stillwell rose as well. You crashed in our world with no resources, no knowledge of our society, no legal identity. Vought can provide all of that. Housing, currency, protection from government agencies that will absolutely come hunting for you. Let them try. They'll send armies, nukes if necessary. Stillwell's voice hardened. You might survive, but can you do it while also searching for a way home? Or would it be easier with the largest corporation in America helping instead of hunting you? Android 18 paused. The woman had a point. She'd destroyed the Red Ribbon Army as a teenager, but that was her world. Familiar territory, known enemies. This dimension was alien, unknown variables. And if she started a war with this planet's governments, finding a dimensional portal would become exponentially harder. 1 week, she said finally. I work with your scientists. They help me understand this dimension's physics. After 7 days, I leave whether you've found an answer or not. Stillwell extended her hand. Deal. Android 18 looked at the offered hand but didn't shake it. Ground rules. I don't wear your costumes. I don't do photo ops. I don't pretend to be your product. And if any of your heroes threaten me again... She glanced at Homelander. I won't show restraint. Homelander's hands clenched. Laser vision flickered in his eyes, but Stillwell's warning glance held him in check. Understood, Stillwell said smoothly. Ashley will set you up with quarters. We'll begin preliminary scans tomorrow. As Android 18 walked toward the door, Maeve spoke for the first time. Question. The warrior woman's voice was rough, tired. In your world, are heroes actually heroes? Or is it all corporate bullshit there too? Android 18 stopped. She thought of Goku, Gohan, Piccolo, warriors who fought because it was right, not for money or fame. Some are real, she said quietly, but they're rare. Yeah, Maeve said. Here too. After Android 18 left, escorted by a nervous Ashley, Stillwell turned to her assembled supes. Options, now. Kill her, Homelander said immediately. She's a threat to everything we've built. She's immune to your laser vision, Maeve countered. You saw how fast she moved. She could have killed you on the street. We don't know her limits. Exactly. Stillwell cut through the argument. Which is why we study her, extract her power signature, find out what makes her work, and if we can replicate it. Understanding dawned on Homelander's face. You want to make more of her. I want to understand if it's possible. Compound V has limits. She doesn't seem to. Stillwell pulled up the energy readings again, still displaying errors and impossible numbers. 1 week, we learn everything. Then we decide if she's an asset or a liability. Black Noir finally spoke, his voice filtered and mechanical through his mask. And if she realizes what we're doing? Stillwell smiled coldly. Then we hope Homelander can buy us enough time to deploy contingencies. 70 floors below, in a luxury apartment that felt like a gilded cage, Android 18 stood by the window looking out at an alien New York. She could sense energy signatures throughout the building, dozens of enhanced humans, all carrying that same artificial chemical taint. This world's heroes were manufactured, controlled, products in capes. She'd been manufactured once too, by Dr. Jarrow, turned into a weapon against her will. Android 18 clenched her fist. She'd broken her programming and killed her creator. If this Vought thought they could control her like they controlled their other supes, they'd learn the same lesson. 1 week, then she'd find her own answers. The next morning arrived with a phone call Android 18 didn't answer, and a knock she couldn't ignore. Ashley stood in the hallway clutching a tablet like a shield, her smile stretched too wide. Good morning, ready for your first day at Vought? Android 18 had spent the night analyzing this world through the apartment's television and internet access. Superheroes were celebrities. Powers came from a substance called Compound Vi. Vought International controlled the entire industry, and the more she read between the lines of corporate press releases and sanitized news reports, the more she recognized familiar patterns: weapons development, human experimentation, corporate control masquerading as heroism. Where? She asked flatly. Science Division, Sublevel 40. Dr. Park is very excited to meet you. The elevator descended far below ground level. Android 18 counted the floors, past executive offices, past training facilities, past what the display labeled Compound V production. When the doors opened on Sublevel 40, the corporate luxury vanished. Sterile white corridors, reinforced blast doors, armed guards in tactical gear, a laboratory, just like Dr. Jarrow's. Dr. Samantha Park waited in a massive scanning chamber surrounded by equipment that hummed with active power. The scientist was 50s, gray hair pulled back, eyes bright with barely contained curiosity. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Your energy signature is like nothing in our databases. Let's get this over with. Android 18 stepped into the scanning chamber, a circular platform surrounded by sensor arrays and monitoring equipment. Right, yes. We'll start with basic biometric readings, then move to more detailed cellular analysis. Park typed rapidly on multiple screens. This won't hurt at all. The scanners activated. Laser grids swept across Android 18's body. Electromagnetic readers pulsed. Thermal imaging captured her energy distribution. Data flooded across dozens of monitors, most displaying error messages or impossible readings. Your cellular structure, it's human but modified at a fundamental level, not genetic manipulation like Compound V. Park zoomed in on cellular scans. These are biomechanical augmentations integrated at the atomic level. How is that even possible? Advanced technology from my world. Android 18 watched the doctor's expression, fascination, overwhelming caution. Another scientist who saw power and wanted to understand it, replicate it, weaponize it. And this energy source, Park pulled up thermal imaging showing a bright point in 18's chest. It's generating constant output. No fuel consumption we can detect, no waste products. Perpetual energy. Infinite energy reactor built into my body during conversion. Park's hands trembled slightly as she typed. Conversion from what? Human. I was human once. Android 18's voice carried no emotion, but Park caught the implication. Someone had done this to her. Someone had turned a person into a weapon. The doctor's enthusiasm dimmed fractionally. I see. No, you don't. Android 18 stepped off the scanning platform. But you will. Show me what you're really doing down here. I'm sorry? You have 43 people with enhanced abilities in this building. I can sense their energy signatures, but below us? She pointed at the floor. There are more. Weaker signals, contained, imprisoned. Park's face went carefully neutral. I don't know what you mean. Android 18 moved faster than human eyes could track. One moment she stood by the scanner, the next she had Park pinned against the wall by her throat, not choking, just immobilizing. The armed guards raised weapons, but 18's free hand crackled with energy. Don't! Let her go! The lead guard's finger tightened on his trigger. Shoot me! See what happens! Android 18's voice was ice. Your bullets will bounce off. Mine won't miss, Park gasped. Stand down! Everyone stand down! The guards hesitated, then slowly lowered their weapons. Android 18 released Park, who crumpled against the wall, gasping. What's below us? 18 demanded. Storage, Park rubbed her throat. Failed experiments, Compound V test subjects who didn't survive enhancement. Liar, I sense heartbeats, breathing, living people kept in cages. Park's professional mask cracked. Fear bled through. You can't go down there. Stillwell doesn't control me. Android 18 walked toward the blast door leading to the lower levels. Open it. I can't. 18 placed her palm against the reinforced steel. Energy pulsed. The door's locking mechanism exploded inward with a shower of sparks. Alarm shrieked. The door fell off its hinges with a deafening crash. The guards raised weapons again. Android 18 moved through them like a ghost, disarming one, knocking another unconscious with a precise strike, dodging bullets that sparked off the walls behind her. In 3 seconds, all 5 guards lay groaning on the floor, not dead, just incapacitated. She descended the stairs beyond the broken door. Sub-level 41 was hell-dressed as science. Rows of reinforced cells lined both sides of a long corridor. Each cell contained a person, some obviously enhanced, others desperately human. Some slept, some wept. Some stared at nothing with broken eyes. A teenage girl with translucent skin that showed her organs pressed against the glass of her cell. A man whose body constantly shifted between solid and liquid screamed silently in an insulated chamber. A child, couldn't be older than 8, sat curled in a corner, small flames dancing across his skin. What is this? Android 18's voice was barely above a whisper. Park had followed, tablet clutched to her chest. Compound V trials, not everyone survives the enhancement process. These subjects developed abilities but became unstable. We're trying to stabilize them before what? Before you kill them? Before you harvest them for parts? We're trying to help them. In cages. Android 18 walked slowly down the corridor, meeting the eyes of each imprisoned person. She'd been imprisoned once, locked in Dr. Jero's laboratory, experimented on, rebuilt into a weapon. She remembered the helplessness, the rage, the fear that she'd never escape. They're dangerous, Park said desperately. The boy, he burned down an orphanage. The girl with the transparent skin, her touch is toxic. We're protecting people. You're protecting prophets. Android 18 stopped in front of the child's cell. The boy looked up at her with eyes that had seen too much. How long has he been here? 11 months. He's 8 years old. He killed 6 people before we contained him. Couldn't control his abilities. We've been working on a suppression formula. Android 18 placed her hand against the cell's control panel. Energy pulsed. The lock disengaged with a click. The door swung open. What are you doing? Park lunged forward, but Android 18 caught her wrist, giving him a choice. 18 knelt before the child. What's your name? The boy stared at her, flames flickering across his small hands. Tyler. Tyler, I'm 18. I was made into a weapon too, against my will. They locked me up and told me I was dangerous. She met his eyes. But I broke out, and I learned to control what they did to me. You can too. I hurt people. Tears streamed down Tyler's face. I didn't mean to, but I can't stop it. Not yet, but you will. Android 18 stood. You can stay here in this cage, or you can come with me and learn control. She's manipulating you, Park shouted. Tyler, if you leave, we can't protect you. Protect him? Android 18's voice cut like steel. Or protect yourselves from him. Footsteps thundered down the corridor. Heavy boots, multiple armed guards, and cutting through the alarm's wail, Homelander's voice. Step away from the cell. Android 18 stood, placing herself between Tyler and the approaching threat. Homelander descended from the stairwell, flanked by 6 tactical teams in full combat gear. His costume was pristine, his smile predatory, but his eyes betrayed calculation. You just broke through 3 levels of security, Homelander said, assaulted Vought personnel, and released a dangerous subject. That's a problem. Your problem is human experimentation on children. Android 18's hands crackled with energy. I've seen this before. Laboratories where people become products. I killed everyone responsible last time. Want to see if history repeats? The tactical teams shifted nervously. They'd seen the footage from yesterday, this woman sending Homelander through a building. Their guns suddenly felt inadequate. Stand down, Homelander said, but his laser vision began to glow. Final warning. Android 18 smiled, cold and dangerous. No. Final warning for ye, she raised both hands. Energy spheres formed in her palms, pulsing with barely restrained power. You have 3 seconds to leave, then I demonstrate exactly what I can do to this facility. You'll kill everyone here. I'll kill everyone who tries to stop me. The energy intensified. The lights flickered. Equipment sparked and died. 1. Homelander's fists clenched. His ego screamed to attack, to prove he was still the strongest, to crush this threat. 2. But Stillwell's voice crackled through his earpiece. Stand down, let her go. What? Letting her leave with one child is better than her destroying the entire research division. Stand down. Homelander's jaw tightened. His eyes blazed, but he stepped aside. Android 18 picked up Tyler. The boy weighed almost nothing, and walked past Homelander without looking at him, past the tactical teams, past Dr. Park's horrified face, up the stairs. "This isn't over," Homelander called after her. Android 18 said without stopping. "It's just beginning." She carried Tyler through the shattered security door into the elevator up 70 floors. Guards watched but didn't intervene. Orders had been given. Let her go. In the lobby, Ashley stood frozen, tablet forgotten. Madeline Stillwell descended from the executive level, her expression unreadable. "Taking souvenirs?" Stillwell asked. "Taking someone who shouldn't be here." Android 18 adjusted Tyler in her arms. The boy had fallen asleep against her shoulder, exhausted. "Your one-week deal is off. I'll find my own way home. You'll never survive in this world alone. No identity, no resources, and now..." Stillwell gestured at the security footage playing on every screen. "Every news network broadcasting footage of you threatening America's greatest hero." Android 18 looked at the screens. The coverage was already spinning. "Unknown supe threatens Vought." "Homelander prevents disaster." "Dangerous individual at large." "I've been hunted before." She walked toward the exit. "By armies, by governments, by artificial gods. I'm still here. They're not." The automatic doors opened. Sunlight streamed in. New York City bustled outside, unaware that in a corporate tower, a woman who could destroy planets had just declared war on the world's most powerful company. Stillwell watched her go, then turned to Ashley. "Contact the media. Full villain narrative. Unknown supe, extremely dangerous, do not approach, and get me every piece of footage we have on her abilities." "What about the boy?" "Missing minor with uncontrolled pyrokinesis." Stillwell's smile was razor-thin. "We'll find them. And when we do, she'll learn that Vought International doesn't lose assets. We acquire them." Android 18 walked through Manhattan with a sleeping child in her arms and no destination in mind. Tyler's flames had extinguished the moment unconsciousness claimed him, but pedestrians still gave them wide berth. Her torn denim vest, the boy's charred clothing, and her complete lack of concern for the stairs, everything about the scene screamed danger. She needed shelter, information, and most critically, she needed to understand this world's power structure before Vought sent something worse than Homelander. 3 blocks from Vought Tower, she sensed them. Not enhanced humans, baseline, but moving with tactical precision. 4 signatures converging from different directions, trying to appear casual. Surveillance teams or something more aggressive, she couldn't tell yet. Android 18 ducked into an alley, placing Tyler gently behind a dumpster. The boy stirred but didn't wake. She positioned herself at the alley's mouth and waited. 2 men appeared at the entrance. One bearded and built like a boxer, the other thinner with wild eyes. Both carried themselves like soldiers. The bearded one raised his hand slowly. "Easy now," he said in a British accent. "We're not with Vought." "Then who are you with?" Android 18's hand crackled with energy. "Name's Billy Butcher, and before you blast me into next Tuesday, you might want to hear what I got to say about the cunts in that tower." The word caught her off guard. Not the vulgarity, but the venom behind it. This man hated Vought with an intensity that reminded her of Vegeta's old grudges. Personal, consuming. "You were watching the building," she said. "We watch all the supe facilities." The thin man spoke quickly, nervously. "Vought the 7 hero appearances, we document everything. And what you did, breaking into sub-level 41? That's been on our target list for 2 years. Android 18 lowered her hand slightly. "You've known about the prisoners?" "Known? Darling, we've got a whole database." Butcher pulled out a phone showing grainy footage of the cells she just walked through. 37 test subjects. 18 of them children. Vaught's been running illegal compound phi trials for 15 years. But we can't prove it, can't access it, and can't expose it without evidence. I just gave you evidence. You gave us a reason to act. Butcher's smile was predatory, which is why we're here, to offer alliance. I don't need allies. No, but you need information. The thin man stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. My name's Huey, and you just made Vought's kill list. They'll send everything, other supes, federal agents, black ops teams. They'll spin you as a terrorist, find everyone you care about, and I don't care about anyone in this world. Android 18 glanced at Tyler's sleeping form. Except him, and I can protect myself. Can you protect him? Butcher's question landed like a hammer. You gonna carry that kid 24/7? Never sleep? Never let your guard down? Because Vaught's got resources you can't imagine. Surveillance networks, government contracts, media control. They'll turn this whole bloody country against you. Android 18 said nothing. Butcher pressed forward. But we can help. Safe houses, false identities, medical care for the boy, and in return, his smile widened. You help us burn Vought to the fucking ground. Why? Android 18 studied both men. What do you gain? Huey and Butcher exchanged glances. The thin man spoke first. My girlfriend, A-Train, one of the 7, ran through her at super speed. She exploded right in front of me. Vought paid me off and called it an accident. And I lost my wife. Butcher's voice went flat, dead. Homelander raped her. Vought covered it up. Paid her off too. She killed herself 6 months later. His fist clenched. So what do we gain? Revenge? Justice? Call it whatever helps you sleep at night. We want the 7 destroyed, Vought exposed, and every supe who's hurt innocent people to answer for it. Android 18 recognized that pain. She'd felt it when Dr. Jarrow stole her humanity, when he turned her brother into Android 17, when she'd looked at her reflection and seen a weapon instead of a person. Where's your safe house? She asked. The basement hideout was exactly what Android 18 expected. Converted storage space beneath a pawn shop in Brooklyn filled with conspiracy boards, weapons, and enough surveillance equipment to make government agencies jealous. 3 others waited inside. A woman with weapons expertise, a man who smelled of cocaine and spoke in rapid French, and another who looked at Tyler with surprising gentleness. Mother's milk, the gentle one introduced himself. MM for short. Kid looks like he's been through hell. Vaught's testing facility. Android 18 laid Tyler on a worn couch. They kept him caged for 11 months. He's 8. Jesus. MM grabbed a first aid kit. His burns. Self-inflicted. He generates fire but can't control it yet. Android 18 watched MM work with practiced efficiency. You're a medic? Paramedic training, and a father. MM's jaw tightened. Kids shouldn't be weapons. No, Android 18 agreed quietly. They shouldn't. The woman, Kimiko, they called her, communicated in sign language that Huey translated. She'd been a Compound V test subject herself, freed by the boys months ago. Her enhanced strength and healing made her invaluable to the team. She signed something and Huey spoke. She says you're brave, breaking into Vought headquarters on your 2nd day. It wasn't bravery, it was necessity. Android 18 examined the conspiracy boards covering the walls, photos of the 7, Vought executives, Compound V distribution networks, crime scenes labeled as soup incidents, an entire wall dedicated to Homelander, hundreds of photos, red string connecting dots between civilian deaths and cover-ups. Butcher appeared at her elbow with a beer. She declined. Don't drink. Course you don't. You're a bloody android or whatever. He took a long pull from the bottle. Huey filled me in on what you told Stillwell. Different dimension, planet-destroying power, infinite energy. That about right? Close enough. Then why didn't you just vaporize Homelander when he threatened you? Android 18 turned to face him fully. Because unlike your world's heroes, I don't kill casually. Power without restraint makes you a monster. I learned that lesson a long time ago. Butcher studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Fair enough, but you should know. Homelander's got no such restraint. He's a psychopath in a cape. Given the chance, he'll kill you, that kid, and everyone in this room just to prove he can. Then I won't give him the chance. Frenchie, the one who smelled of cocaine, laughed from his position at a computer terminal. Magnifique! The android woman with no fear. I like her, Butcher. Can we keep her? She ain't a pet, Frenchie. Butcher pulled up security footage on a laptop, multiple angles of Android 18's confrontation with Homelander. But she is the first person to ever make that cunt back down. That's worth something. Android 18 watched herself on the screen, the energy spheres, Homelander's hesitation, Stillwell's order to stand down. He wanted to fight, she observed. Of course he did. His ego's the size of fucking Kansas. Butcher zoomed in on Homelander's face, the micro-expressions of rage and humiliation. But Stillwell knows better. You're an unknown variable, could be stronger than him, could kill him, can't risk it until they understand your limits. So they'll study me from a distance, test me indirectly. And when they think they've got your measure, Butcher made a gun with his fingers. Isas, they'll come for you with everything. Huey joined them, tablet in hand. It's already starting. Every news channel is running your story. Unknown supe threatens Vought. They're calling you a terrorist. Android 18 watched the coverage. Her image plastered across screens, deliberately framed to look menacing. Stillwell giving interviews about dangerous unregistered supes. Experts debating whether she was a foreign weapon or homegrown threat. No mention of the imprisoned test subjects. No mention of Tyler. They control the narrative, she said. Always have. Returned from treating Tyler, wiping his hands. Kid's stable. Burns are mostly superficial, but he's malnourished, dehydrated, and traumatized. Needs proper medical care. Which we can't give him without exposing ourselves, Butcher said. Hospitals mean records. Records mean Vought finds him. Then I'll protect him myself. Android 18 moved to the couch, checking Tyler's breathing. Still asleep, still vulnerable. Kimiko signed something and Huey translated. She says the boy needs more than protection. He needs training, control. She had to learn the same thing. Android 18 looked at Kimiko, saw the scars, the haunted eyes, the careful way she moved. Another weapon trying to become human again. How long have you been free? Kimiko held up 6 fingers. 6 months, Huey explained. The Shining Light Liberation Army gave her compound fee, turned her into an assassin. We freed her, but she's still... He paused, searching for words. Learning what it means to choose her own path. Yeah, Android 18 said quietly. That part takes time. Butcher clapped his hands, breaking the moment. Right. Enough therapy. We need a plan. 18. Can I call you 18? She nodded. 18's got Vought's attention. They'll be tracking every camera, every satellite, every facial recognition system in the city. We need to move fast before they mobilize properly. Move where? Huey asked. Sage Grove Center. Butcher pulled up files, a psychiatric facility in rural Pennsylvania. Another Vought black site, where they send the really fucked up test subjects, the ones too dangerous or too broken for regular facilities. Android 18 studied the files, images of a sprawling compound, security measures, estimated population of 70+ enhanced individuals, all imprisoned. You want me to break them out? I want you to expose them, get footage, evidence that even Vought's media machine can't bury. Butcher's smile was vicious. You already hit sub-level 41. Let's make it a pattern. Show the world what Vought really does with Compound V. That'll start a war, said carefully. We're already at war. We've just been losing. Butcher turned to Android 18. You got the power to change that. Question is, you willing to use it? Android 18 looked at Tyler sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. Looked at Kimiko, still learning to be free. Looked at the conspiracy boards documenting years of corporate atrocities. She'd destroyed the Red Ribbon Army. She could destroy Vought too. "I'll help," she said, "but we do this my way. Minimal casualties, no civilian collateral damage, and we extract every prisoner who wants out." "Even the dangerous ones?" Huey asked. "Especially them. They deserve the choice." Android 18's eyes hardened. "Vought took their choice away. We give it back." Butcher extended his hand. This time Android 18 shook it. "Welcome to the boys," Butcher said. "Try not to accidentally blow up the planet while you're here." "No promises," Frenchie laughed. Shook his head but smiled. Kimiko signed something that made Huey grin. And in that basement hideout beneath a Brooklyn pawn shop, a woman from another dimension joined forces with the only people in this world who wanted the same thing she did: to tear down the lies and free the prisoners. Vought had created monsters. Now they'd face one they couldn't control. Sage Grove Center sat isolated in the Pennsylvania hills like a tumor on the landscape. 3-story brutalist architecture surrounded by 20-foot walls, guard tours, and enough security to hold a military installation. Android 18 studied the compound through binoculars from their position half a mile away, counting energy signatures. 73 enhanced individuals inside, most barely registered, weakened, suppressed, or dying. But 6 burned brighter, stronger, more dangerous. "Christ, it's a bloody fortress," Butcher muttered beside her. "Even with your power, getting in quiet's gonna be a problem." "I don't plan to be quiet." Android 18 lowered the binoculars. "I plan to be fast." They'd spent 2 days planning this operation. Stayed behind with Tyler at the safe house while the rest of the boys established position around Sage Grove's perimeter. Huey and Frenchie handled communications and surveillance jamming. Kimiko would provide backup extraction. Butcher insisted on coming despite being baseline human. "You're going to get yourself killed," Android 18 had told him during the drive. "Then I'll die doing something that matters." His response left no room for argument. Now, as sunset painted the compound orange, Android 18 prepared to move. She'd changed clothes, darker colors, more practical than her usual denim, but she refused body armor or weapons. Her body was the weapon. "Remember," Huey's voice crackled through the earpiece Frenchie had given her, "we need footage, evidence. The security system backs up to off-site servers, but if you can grab physical drives, I'll get them." Android 18 rose from their hidden position. "Stay here." "Wait." Butcher grabbed her arm, then immediately released it when she glanced at his hand. "Sorry, just don't kill anyone unless you absolutely have to. We need the moral high ground on this." "I'm not a murderer, Butcher, despite what your world assumes about people with power." She launched into the air without another word, crossing half a mile in seconds. Guards in the towers never saw her coming. She dropped behind the first one, struck the back of his neck with precisely calculated force, unconscious, not dead, and caught his falling body before it could alert others. 2 more towers, 2 more guards neutralized in silence. Then she descended on the main building's roof and punched through. Alarm shrieked immediately. Android 18 dropped 4 stories through reinforced floors like they were paper, landing in what appeared to be an administrative section. Confused staff scattered. She ignored them, following the strongest energy signatures downward. Sublevel 1 held the stable patients, enhanced individuals deemed manageable. They stared through reinforced glass cells as Android 18 strode past. Her reflection multiplied in dozens of windows. She didn't stop. These weren't the priority. Sublevel 2, heavier security, thicker walls, automated turrets that tracked her movement. The guns opened fire. Bullets sparked off her skin like insects. She raised one hand and fired a precise energy blast. The turrets exploded in sequence, left to right, smoking ruins in under 3 seconds. "Breach on Sublevel 2, someone shouted through the facility's speakers. "Initiate Protocol Omega." Protocol Omega, Android 18 discovered, meant releasing their 6 strongest assets. The reinforced door at the corridor's end buckled outward. Then it exploded off its hinges. What emerged made even Android 18 pause. 7 feet tall, skin mottled gray and black, muscles bulging grotesquely, the creature had been human once. Now it was something else, something that roared with animal rage and charged with enough force to crack the concrete floor. Android 18 sidestepped, tripping it as it passed. The creature crashed into the wall behind her, creating a crater. Before it could recover, she struck its temple with a calculated blow. It collapsed, unconscious. Not dead. Never dead unless absolutely necessary. The second asset was faster. A woman who blurred with super speed, striking from multiple angles simultaneously. Android 18 felt the impacts, weak by her standards, but coordinated and relentless. She waited until the speedster overcommitted, then caught her mid-strike by the throat. "Stop," Android 18 said calmly. The speedster's eyes were wild, drugged, barely human. "They did this to you," 18 continued. "Made you into a weapon. I understand, but I'm not your enemy." She released the speedster and caught the next attack, a psychic assault that would have crushed a normal mind. Android 18's consciousness was partially mechanical, shielded. The psychic recoiled, screaming. "Enough!" Android 18's voice carried power. "I'm here to free you, all of you." The remaining 3 assets hesitated. A man with crystalline skin, a teenager with metallic wings, something that looked human but radiated heat like a furnace. "You're the one from the news," the crystalline man said. His voice was surprisingly normal. "The terrorist. Is that what they told you?" Android 18 gestured at their surroundings. "You're in cages. They pump you full of drugs. They call you assets, not people, and I'm the terrorist?" "She's right," a voice called from one of the cells. A young black woman pressed against the glass. "They're monsters, all of them. Please, get us out." Android 18 placed her palm against the cell's control panel. Energy pulsed. The lock shattered. The door swung open. The woman stumbled out, tears streaming. "Thank you, God, thank you." "Not God, just someone who knows what it's like." Android 18 moved to the next cell, and the next. Energy blast after energy blast, lock after lock, failing. The crystalline man watched for a moment, then moved to help. His diamond-hard fists smashed through control panels. The teenager with wings used razor-sharp feathers to cut through restraints. Even the speedster, still drugged and disoriented, began opening cells. Within minutes, Sub-Level 2 descended into controlled chaos. 37 people freed from their prisons, most weak from captivity, all desperate for escape. "This way," Android 18 directed them toward the stairwell. "Everyone who can walk, help those who can't." That's when Butcher's voice crackled in her earpiece. 18, we got a problem. Vought just deployed aerial assets. 3 helicopters inbound, ETA 2 minutes. Not enough time to evacuate everyone. Then you're gonna have to slow them down. Android 18 looked at the freed prisoners, broken, traumatized people who'd survived hell. She couldn't leave them, wouldn't leave them. "Kimiko," she said into the comm, "get down here. Help them evacuate through the lower levels. Frenchie, blow the eastern wall. Give them an exit point." "And you?" Huey asked. "I'm going to introduce myself to Vaught's aerial division." Android 18 launched back up through the hole she'd created, emerging on the roof just as 3 military helicopters crested the hills. Searchlights illuminated her immediately. "Target acquired," a voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "Stand down or we open fire." Android 18 raised both hands. Energy crackled between her fingers, visible warning. The helicopters opened fire anyway. Minigun rounds tore through the air at thousands per minute. Against any normal target, the assault would have been devastating. Against Android 18, the bullets flattened against her skin and fell harmlessly away. She smiled, then she moved. The first helicopter never saw her coming. One moment she stood on the roof, the next she hovered beside its cockpit. The pilot's eyes widened in terror as Android 18 placed her palm against the aircraft's engine housing. "Emergency landing," she said clearly. Now. We can't. Energy pulsed, not enough to destroy, just enough to disable. The engine sputtered and died. The helicopter began a controlled descent, the pilot fighting the controls but ultimately surviving the crash landing in the field below. The second helicopter tried to flee. Android 18 caught it, wrapping her hands around its tail boom and simply stopping its forward momentum. The aircraft shuddered, rotors screaming. She spun it like a toy and set it down, hard but not fatally, on the compound's parking lot. The third helicopter was smarter. It activated countermeasures, flares, chaff, evasive maneuvers. The pilot was military-trained, experienced. Android 18 didn't care. She appeared in front of the helicopter, hovering at eye level with the cockpit. The pilot's face went white. Android 18 pointed downward firmly. The helicopter landed. From the compound below, explosions erupted as Frenchie's charges blew the eastern wall. Freed prisoners poured through the gap, Kimiko and the Crystalline Man helping the weakest. They scattered into the Pennsylvania hills like ghosts finally escaping their haunting. Android 18 descended to the compound's entrance where Butcher waited, camera in hand, filming everything. "That was bloody beautiful," he said, grinning like a maniac. "You just grounded military helicopters without killing anyone. The internet's gonna lose its shit." "Did you get the footage from inside?" "Every cell, every prisoner, every piece of evidence we need." Butcher's grin widened. "Vaught's fucked." But Android 18's enhanced hearing caught something Butcher couldn't, a sonic signature approaching fast, too fast. She grabbed Butcher and leaped backward just as Homelander crashed into the ground where they'd been standing. He rose slowly from the crater, cape billowing, laser vision already glowing. "Round 2, bitch!" Android 18 set Butcher down gently. "Get to the van, now." "But now," Butcher ran. "Smart man." Homelander's smile was all teeth and madness. "You embarrassed me, twice. Do you know what that does to my brand, my image? I don't care about your brand." Android 18 settled into a fighting stance. "Last chance. Walk away." "Fuck that." Homelander's laser vision fired, twin beams of superheated energy that could cut through steel. Android 18 crossed her arms. The lasers struck her forearms and simply stopped, absorbed by her energy field. Homelander's eyes widened fractionally. "My turn," Android 18 said. She moved faster than Homelander's enhanced perception could track. Her fist drove into his stomach with enough force to create a shockwave. Homelander's feet left the ground. He flew backward through 3 walls before crashing into the Pennsylvania hills a quarter-mile away. Android 18 followed, closing the distance in a heartbeat. She found him staggering to his feet, blood on his lips, the first time anyone had ever made him bleed. "What the fuck are you?" he gasped. "You're better." Android 18's hand crackled with energy. "In every way that matters." Homelander roared and charged. The fight that followed lasted 30 seconds. He threw punches that could shatter concrete. She dodged or blocked effortlessly. He fired laser vision continuously. She walked through it like rain. He tried to fly away. She caught his ankle and slammed him into the ground hard enough to create a crater. Finally, she pinned him by the throat against a tree, her hand glowing with barely restrained power. "Listen carefully," she said quietly. "I could kill you, right now, permanently. But I won't. Because unlike you, I don't abuse power." Homelander's hands clawed at her arm, unable to move it. "But if you come after me again, if you threaten those people, if you hurt anyone under my protection..." Her grip tightened slightly. "I will end you. No cameras, no witnesses, just you and me, and the realization that you were never special. Just a bully with powers you never earned." She released him. Homelander collapsed, gasping, his invincible body sporting its first bruises. Android 18 rose into the air, hovering above him. "Tell Stillwell, I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not running. and I'm coming for every black site, every prison, every secret facility where Vought turns people into products." She flew away, leaving Homelander broken in the dirt. For the first time in his life, he felt fear. The footage went viral within hours. Butcher had uploaded everything to a dozen encrypted servers simultaneously: prisoners in cells, Vought's experimental procedures, security logs documenting years of illegal trials, and the crown jewel. Android 18 systematically dismantling Vought's response team while Homelander lay broken in the Pennsylvania hills. The internet exploded, Reddit threads analyzing every frame, Twitter hashtags trending worldwide, news networks forced to cover what they'd previously ignored. Free the supes, Vought exposed. Android 18, the narrative Vought had carefully constructed, dangerous terrorist, unknown threat, shattered against documented evidence of corporate atrocities. Android 18 watched the coverage from the boy's safe house, Tyler asleep against her shoulder. The boy had barely spoken since waking, but he'd stopped flinching when she moved. Small progress. "You're famous," said, flipping through news channels. "Every network's running your story. Can't decide if you're a hero or a threat." "Both," Android 18 said flatly. "Depends who's watching." Huey burst through the door, laptop clutched to his chest. "You need to see this. Vought's response just dropped." He pulled up a professionally produced video, Madeline Stillwell behind a mahogany desk, American flag in the background, expression perfectly calibrated for concerned authority. "Recent events have deeply troubled us at Vought International," Stillwell's recorded voice began. "An individual with unknown origins and unregistered abilities attacked 2 of our research facilities, endangered staff, and released dangerous test subjects into civilian populations." "Dangerous test subjects," Butcher spat. "That's what she's calling those prisoners." Stillwell continued. "We acknowledge that Sage Grove Center housed individuals with severe psychological conditions alongside their enhanced abilities. These were people we were trying to help, to rehabilitate. But this attacker, this Android 18 as she calls herself, has unleashed them without regard for public safety." Android 18's jaw tightened. "Furthermore," Stillwell said, "we've discovered evidence suggesting this individual may be a foreign weapon, possibly of Russian or Chinese origin. A biological or technological experiment designed to destabilize American institutions. We're working with federal agencies to assess the threat level." The video ended. Huey looked sick. "They're spinning you as a terrorist, a foreign asset." "Of course they are." Android 18 stood carefully, settling Tyler on the couch without waking him. "Truth doesn't matter when you control the narrative. But we have evidence, which they're calling fabricated, deepfakes, conspiracy theories." Pulled up more coverage. Already, Vought-friendly outlets were questioning the footage's authenticity. "They've got money, lawyers, and media connections. They can bury anything." Frenchie entered from the basement workshop, wiping grease from his hands. "Not anything, mon ami. The internet, she does not forget. Already, independent journalists are verifying our footage. Forensic analysis confirms it is real. And the people you freed, they are talking, giving interviews." "Which Vought will discredit," Butcher said. "Call them paid actors or mentally unstable. We hurt them, but we didn't kill them." Android 18 studied the conspiracy board, updated now with her own photo at the center, red strings connecting to Vought facilities across the country, 14 known black sites, hundreds of prisoners, decades of human experimentation. "Then we hit them again," she said, "harder. They'll be ready this time." MM's voice carried warning. "Sage Grove was a surprise. Next facility will have enhanced security, more supes, maybe the 7 themselves." "Good." Android 18's eyes hardened. "Let them come prepared. Won't matter." Kimiko signed something and Huey translated. "She's asking if you're okay. That fight with Homelander. You seemed angry." Android 18 paused. Was she angry? Yes, but not at Homelander specifically, at what he represented. A weapon that thought itself a god because no one had ever been strong enough to challenge him. She'd been that weapon once. Dr. Gero's perfect creation designed to kill Goku. She'd thought herself invincible until she met beings who made her power look insignificant. That humility, that perspective, it had saved her humanity. Homelander had never learned that lesson, and Vought encouraged his delusion because it was profitable. "I'm fine," she said finally. "But we need to move fast. Vaught's mobilizing. I can sense increased activity around their headquarters, multiple enhanced signatures converging." "The rest of the 7, Butcher guessed. "They're calling everyone in." His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. "Yeah?" "Mr. Butcher!" Madeline Stillwell's voice poured through like honey over razors. "We need to talk." "Nothing to talk about, love. You're finished." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, you've just given me justification to deploy the 7 as a domestic security force. Your little android friend assaulted federal facilities and released dangerous individuals. That's terrorism, and we handle terrorists. She freed innocent people you were experimenting on. We were rehabilitating unstable supes. There's a difference." Stillwell's tone never wavered. "But I'm not calling to debate. I'm calling to offer a deal." Silence. Butcher's knuckles whitened around the phone. "Android 18 turns herself in for evaluation. Peaceful surrender. In exchange, we drop all charges against the boys. Clean slate. You walk away." "Fuck off!" "Wait." Android 18 took the phone. "Why would I surrender?" "Because the alternative is war." Stillwell's voice carried absolute confidence. "I've mobilized every asset Vought controls, supes, military contractors, federal agencies. If you continue this crusade, people will die. Civilians, the freed prisoners you claim to care about, your new friends, is that what you want?" Android 18 met Butcher's eyes. He shook his head firmly. "Don't trust her." "What happens if I surrender?" 18S asked. "Study, analysis. We determine what you are, where you're from, and whether you pose a continued threat. If our scientists conclude you're benign, we facilitate your return home. And if they conclude I'm a threat, permanent containment for the safety of this planet." Android 18 almost laughed. Permanent containment, as if they could hold her. As if their cages meant anything to someone who'd broken Gero's control programming through sheer will. "Counteroffer," she said. "You release all prisoners from your black sites, publicly acknowledge illegal experimentation, disband the 7. Then I leave your planet peacefully." Stillwell's laugh was genuine. "You're delusional. Vought International employs 300,000 people worldwide. We have government contracts across 40 nations. We're worth $400 billion, and you think you can destroy that? I've destroyed bigger." "Then try." Stillwell's voice went cold. "But understand, every death, every casualty, every piece of collateral damage falls on you. You wanted to be a hero? Heroes protect people. Can you do that while fighting an entire corporation?" The line went dead. Butcher snatched his phone back. "Manipulative cunt. She's trying to make you doubt yourself." "It's working," Huey said quietly. "She's right about one thing. If we keep escalating, people will die." "People are already dying." Butcher slammed his fist on the table. "In Vaught's facilities, in their experiments, from supes who think they're gods because Vought tells them they are. We stop now, nothing changes." "And if we continue," MM asked, 18 can handle herself, but what about us? What about the people we freed? Vought will hunt them down. Then we protect them." Android 18 spoke with finality. "Every freed prisoner gets a choice. Disappear with new identities or stay and fight. But no one goes back in a cage." "That's 43 people to hide," MM said. "We don't have resources for—" "I'll find resources." Android 18 pulled up a map on Huey's laptop, marking locations. "This world has criminal organizations, right? Groups that operate outside government control?" Butcher's eyes lit up with understanding. "You want to make a deal with the underworld?" I want allies who benefit from Vought's destruction. Criminal syndicates hate corporate monopolies. They'd love to see Vought weakened. That's dangerous, Huey said. Criminals aren't exactly known for their ethics. Neither is Vought. Android 18 zoomed in on New York's organized crime districts. At least criminals are honest about being criminals. Vought pretends to be heroes while doing worse. Frenchie clapped his hands. Magnifique. The enemy of my enemy, he makes a wonderful temporary friend. I know people. The Albanian mob, they hate Vought. Vought security keeps shutting down their protection rackets. Set up a meeting, Android 18 said. Tonight. 18, you sure about this? MM's concern was paternal. Once you get in bed with organized crime, I'm not getting in bed with anyone. I'm negotiating a temporary alliance against a common enemy. She met each of their eyes. Vought has allies in government, media, military. We need allies too. Or did you plan to fight this war alone? Butcher grinned, sharp and vicious. I fucking love this plan. Huey, start contacting the freed prisoners. Give them options. Kimiko, you and Frenchie set up the meet with the Albanians. Secure more safe houses. We're about to get busy. As the boys scattered to their tasks, Android 18 returned to Tyler. The boy had woken, flames dancing nervously across his fingertips as he watched the adults argue. Are we in trouble? He asked quietly. Probably. Android 18 sat beside him. But trouble's manageable. You're really strong, aren't you? Like really, really strong. Yes. Stronger than Homelander? Yes. Tyler was quiet for a moment, flames flickering out. At Sage Grove, they said Homelander was the strongest person alive, that nobody could beat him, but you did, easy. Strength isn't just about power, Tyler. It's about control, purpose. Android 18 created a small energy sphere in her palm, beautiful, contained, harmless. I could destroy this building with this much energy, or I could use it to light your way in darkness. Same power, different choices. They never gave me choices, Tyler whispered. Just cages and drugs and pain. I know, but that's over now. Android 18 dispersed the energy. From now on, you choose, stay with us and learn control, or disappear and live a normal life. Your choice, always. Tyler looked at his hands, small, scarred, dangerous. I want to learn. I don't want to hurt people anymore. Then I'll teach you, the same way someone taught me. Android 18 stood. But first, we have to make sure Vought can't put you back in a cage, which means we fight. Will you win? Android 18 looked out the window at New York's skyline. Somewhere in one of those towers, Vought was planning their response. Mobilizing assets, preparing for war. I always win, she said. Eventually. But even as she spoke, her enhanced hearing caught something that made her pause. Sirens. Dozens of them converging on their location from multiple directions. Butcher's phone buzzed. Frenchie's panicked voice. Cameras, they found us through traffic cameras. Everyone out, Butcher shouted. Now. Android 18 grabbed Tyler, shielding him with her body as the safe house's door exploded inward. Federal agents in tactical gear poured through, weapons raised. Behind them, floating through the shattered entrance, came 3 members of the 7, A-Train, Queen Maeve, and leading them, smiling like a shark, Black Noir. Vought sends its regards, A-Train said, vibrating with barely contained speed. Android 18 set Tyler behind her. Wrong move. The fight was about to get much more complicated. Android 18 had microseconds to assess the situation. 20 federal agents, 3 members of the 7, Butcher and the boys scrambling for weapons, Tyler cowering behind her, flames igniting across his arms in panic, and only one exit, the basement stairs already being covered by tactical teams. She made a choice. Basement, now! She shouted at the boys while launching herself at the incoming threats. A-Train moved first, living up to his name. He blurred forward, a sonic boom cracking through the confined space as he aimed a super-speed punch at her face. Fast by this world's standards, pedestrian by hers. Android 18 caught his fist mid-strike. A-Train's eyes widened. He'd never been stopped before. She spun him like a discus and hurled him through the wall into the street beyond. The speedster tumbled across asphalt, leaving a trail of sparks. Queen Maeve came next, sword drawn, real steel, not theatrical prop. The warrior woman was skilled, disciplined, striking with lethal intent. Android 18 dodged 3 cuts, then caught the blade between her fingers. Metal screamed. The sword shattered. "You don't want this fight," Android 18 said, maintaining eye contact with Maeve. "I can see it." For a fraction of a second, something flickered in Maeve's expression. Regret? Relief? But Black Noir was already moving, silent, lethal, twin knives flashing. He fought like an assassin, targeting vital points with surgical precision. Android 18 blocked, deflected, then grabbed his wrist and slammed him through the floor into the basement below. The impact cratered concrete. The federal agents opened fire. Bullets sparked harmlessly off Android 18's body, ricocheting into walls. She raised one hand, firing a precisely controlled energy wave that swept across the room, non-lethal, just enough concussive force to knock everyone back and disarm them without permanent injury. "Go!" she shouted down to the boys in the basement. "I'll cover you." "We're not leaving you," Huey yelled back. "You are! Tyler needs protection!" Android 18 fired another energy blast, collapsing the stairwell entrance to buy them time. Through the rubble, she heard Butcher cursing, then retreating footsteps. Good. They'd escaped through the tunnels Frenchie had prepared for exactly this scenario. A-Train crashed back through the wall, his costume torn, face bloodied. "What the hell are you?" "Better than you." Android 18 advanced on him. "Want to try again?" He tried. Blurring forward with everything he had, throwing 100 punches in 2 seconds. Android 18 stood still and let him hit her. Each impact landed with the force to break concrete. Each one bounced harmlessly off her defenses. When A-Train's fist started bleeding from the repeated trauma, she ended it. One palm strike to his chest, calculated precisely. He flew backward through 3 buildings before crash landing in a parked car 2 blocks away. Alive, unconscious, out of the fight. Black Noir emerged from the basement crater, battered but functional. He retrieved more weapons, throwing knives, garrote wire, tactics shifting toward assassination rather than direct combat. Smart. He'd recognized overwhelming force and adapted, but not smart enough. Android 18 caught every thrown knife, letting them clatter harmlessly to the floor. When Black Noir tried to close distance with the garrote, she grabbed both ends of the wire and yanked. He flew toward her. She caught him by the throat, lifted him, and spoke clearly through his mask. "You're skilled, disciplined. You could be a real hero if Vought didn't own you." She set him down, didn't throw, didn't break. "Walk away, this isn't your fight." Black Noir's response was another knife strike. Android 18 caught his wrist, twisted, and the blade fell. Then she hit him. Open palm measured force, and Black Noir crumpled. Only Queen Maeve remained standing, sword broken, surrounded by unconscious agents and defeated teammates. The warrior woman looked at Android 18 with something approaching awe. "You're holding back," Maeve said quietly. "You could have killed all of us." "Yes." "Why didn't you?" Android 18 looked at the devastation, walls demolished, floor cratered, 2 members of the 7 incapacitated. "Because you're victims too. Vought made you into products, told you that you were heroes, and now they're sending you to die fighting me. That's not your fault." Maeve's laugh was bitter. "You don't know anything about me. I know you didn't want this fight. I saw it in your eyes." Android 18 moved toward the collapsed stairwell. "Tell Stillwell this is what happens when she sends people to cage me. Next time I won't be gentle." "There's going to be a next time," Maeve said. "She won't stop. Vought never stops." "Neither do I." Android 18 tore through the collapsed stairwell rubble and descended into darkness. The basement tunnels stretched in multiple directions, Frenchie's paranoid preparation paying dividends. She followed the boys' energy signatures through the underground maze, emerging 15 minutes later in an abandoned subway station. The boys waited in the shadows. Butcher, Huey, Frenchie, Kimiko, and Tyler, all accounted for, all safe. "Fuck me," Butcher breathed. "You just beat 3 members of the 7 and a federal response team without breaking a sweat." "They weren't trying to kill," Android 18 said. "Just capture. Made it easier." "Easier?" Huey looked back at the destruction they could hear echoing above. "You collapsed a building." "Part of a building, and no one died." Android 18 checked Tyler. The boy's flames had subsided, but fear still dominated his expression. "You okay?" Tyler nodded mutely. Was already on his phone checking news feeds. "It's everywhere. Footage of you throwing A-Train through walls, fighting the 7 solo. Every camera in 3 blocks caught something." "How's the spin looking?" Butcher asked. "Bad for us. Vought's calling it an unprovoked attack on federal agents. You're officially America's most wanted." Showed them the breaking news, Android 18's face plastered across every channel. "Shoot on site authorization, $50 million bounty." "50 million? Frenchie whistled. "Mon Dieu, you are expensive." "They're desperate," Android 18 said. "Which means we're winning." "Winning?" Huey's voice cracked. "They're mobilizing the entire country against us. How is this winning?" "Because Vought's revealing their true nature." Android 18 pointed at MM's phone. "Look at the comments, the forums. People are questioning why the 7 attacked first, why federal agents targeted a residential building with civilians inside. Vought's narrative is cracking." Butcher studied the feeds, then grinned. "She's right. Look here. Journalists asking why Vought has federal authorization for domestic operations, civil liberties groups filing complaints, some senators calling for investigations. And look at this hashtag." Pulled up Twitter. Hashtag #WhereAreThe73. People want to know what happened to the prisoners we freed. Vought can't explain that away. "But they'll try," Huey said. "And they've got unlimited resources." "So do I." Android 18's hands crackled with energy. Different kind of resources, but just as effective. Kimiko signed something urgently. Frenchie translated. "She says we need new safe house. This location is compromised." "Already handled." Butcher pulled out a burner phone, dialing. "Got a place Vought won't find. Not unless they're willing to start a war with people meaner than the 7. He spoke briefly in coded language, then hung up. "Albanian mob. They're interested in our alliance proposal. Meeting set for midnight at their social club in Queens." "That's in 4 hours," said. "How do we move without being tracked? Every camera, every satellite. Underground." Frenchie gestured deeper into the subway tunnels. "I know paths, old maintenance routes, abandoned stations. We can move through the city unseen." "For how long?" Huey asked. "Eventually we have to surface, eventually they corner us. Then we make sure when they corner us, we're ready." Android 18 looked at each of them. "You've been fighting Vought for how long?" 3 years, Butcher said. 3 years hiding, gathering evidence. Playing by rules that Vought doesn't follow. Android 18's eyes hardened. "That ends now. We stop hiding, we go public, we force them to fight on our terms." "How?" asked. "Live broadcast. Everything we know, every crime, every facility, every name." Android 18 pointed at Huey's laptop. "Can you set up a stream that Vought can't shut down?" "Maybe, if we use decentralized platforms, multiple servers, encrypted routing." Huey's fingers flew across the keyboard. Yeah, I could do it, but we'd need time and protection while we broadcast." "You'll have both." Android 18 turned to Butcher. "This Albanian meeting, can you negotiate for technical support, secure location for the broadcast?" "Albanians hate technology, but they've got connections. Russians, Ukrainians, they've got hackers who'd sell their mothers for the right price." Butcher's grin was vicious. You really want to declare open war on the most powerful corporation in America? I've declared war on gods. Android 18's voice carried absolute certainty. Vought's just a company. Tyler spoke for the first time since the attack. What about me? Everyone turned to look at the 8-year-old boy with fire in his veins. You stay with Android 18 said gently. Somewhere safe. This gets dangerous. It's already dangerous. Tyler's hands ignited. They're hunting us because of me, because you freed me. I should help. You're a child. I'm a weapon. Tyler's voice cracked. That's what they made me. That's what I am. Android 18 knelt before him, meeting his eyes. No. You're a child who was given power before learning control. There's a difference. Then teach me control, fast. Tyler's determination burned as bright as his flames. You said I get to choose. I choose to fight. Android 18 saw herself in his eyes, young, angry, turned into something she never asked to be. She'd had 17 to share the burden. Tyler had no one except the people in this tunnel. Okay, she said finally. But you follow my orders exactly. No improvising, no heroics. Clear? Tyler nodded seriously. Shook his head but didn't argue. I'll keep him safe, or die trying. You won't die. Android 18 stood. Because we're about to change the rules of this game. They moved through the tunnels as sirens wailed above. Every news channel tracked Android 18's last known location. Every agency mobilized. Vought deployed additional assets, rumors of the deep recalled from exile, Stormfront being considered despite her controversial history. But underground in forgotten passages beneath New York, Android 18 and the boys planned something Vought couldn't predict. Total exposure, complete transparency, a broadcast that would reveal every secret, every crime, every lie. And when Vought came to stop them because they would come, Android 18 would be waiting. She'd fought Cell. She'd survived the Tournament of Power. She'd faced beings who could erase universes. Vought International was just another bully that needed to learn an important lesson. Some people can't be bought, can't be threatened, can't be controlled. And when you push them too far, they push back. The Albanian Social Club occupied a nondescript building in Queens, wedged between a laundromat and a closed butcher shop. But Android 18's enhanced senses detected the real operation, reinforced walls, armed guards throughout, and a basement that extended far deeper than building codes allowed. Butcher knocked. 3 slow, 2 fast, 1 slow, a coded pattern. The door opened to reveal a massive man with prison tattoos and a shotgun. Butcher, the man grunted. Boss is waiting. They descended into a space that reeked of cigarettes, alcohol, and old violence. The basement had been converted into a nightclub aesthetic. Velvet booths, dim lighting, expensive bottles behind a bar. A dozen men watched their entrance with predatory interest. At the central booth sat a woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back severely, rings on every finger. She smoked a thin cigar and studied Android 18 with the cold assessment of someone who'd ordered deaths before breakfast. Anjesa Marku, Butcher introduced. Queen of the Albanian operation in New York. Anjesa, this is... I know who she is. Anjesa's English carried a thick accent. The woman who embarrassed Homelander, made the 7 look like children. All of America is looking for you. All of America's government, Android 18 corrected. Different thing. Anjesa smiled, sharp and dangerous. Sit. They sat. Huey clutched his laptop nervously. Frenchie exchanged nods with several of the Albanian enforcers. Apparently he had history here. Kimiko remained standing, positioned for rapid response. Tyler stayed close to flames dancing anxiously across his fingertips. Interesting company you keep, Butcher. Anjesa gestured at Tyler. A child in this business? Not by choice, Android 18 said. Vought made him a weapon. We freed him. Vought? Anjesa spat the name like a curse. They are cancer, spread everywhere, corrupt everything. They're superheroes. She made a dismissive gesture. They destroy my businesses, call it fighting crime, but when I pay them, suddenly crimes in my territory disappear, hypocrites in capes. We have that in common then, Android 18 said. We both want them gone. Gone? Anjeza laughed, harsh and humorless. You cannot make Vought gone. They are worth billions. They own senators, judges, police. They are America now. They can be exposed, weakened, made irrelevant. Android 18 leaned forward. We have evidence of illegal human experimentation, hundreds of prisoners, decades of crimes. We broadcast it worldwide. Vought's stock crashes, their government contracts get investigated, their hero empire crumbles. And then what? Anjeza's eyes narrowed. New company takes over, different names, same crimes. You think you changed the system by exposing one corporation? No, but I change it by proving they can bleed. Silence. Anjeza studied Android 18 for a long moment, then gestured to one of her men. He placed a tablet on the table displaying news coverage. Android 18 throwing A-train through buildings, fighting the Seven alone, walking away from federal agents. You are strong, Anjeza said. Stronger than their superheroes. But strength alone does not win wars. You need infrastructure, money, weapons, safe houses, technical support. She tapped ash from her cigar. You need me. What do you want in exchange? Butcher asked. Vought's collapse opens opportunities. Their territories, their contracts, their protection rackets all become available. Anjeza's smile widened. I want first rights to claim them, and I want assurance that when this war ends, you leave my operations alone. We're not here to fight organized crime, Huey started. But you will turn blind eye when convenient, yes? Anjeza interrupted. I am not stupid, boy. You need allies. I need Vought destroyed. We use each other. Then we part ways. Android 18 considered the offer. Helping criminals wasn't ideal, but Vought was experimenting on children, creating weapons, and calling it heroism. At least Anjeza was honest about being a criminal. Deal, Android 18 said, but two conditions. First, you provide protection for the freed prisoners, all of them. They get new identities, safe housing, and you leave them alone. Acceptable. Second condition? If I find out you're experimenting on people, creating your own enhanced weapons, or doing anything that resembles what Vought does, Android 18's hand crackled with energy. This alliance ends, violently. The Albanian enforcers tensed, hands moved toward weapons, but Anjeza raised one ring-laden hand, stopping them. She studied the energy crackling between Android 18's fingers, real, deadly, beyond anything she'd encountered. You would kill me over principles? Anjeza asked. After using me for resources? Yes. The brutal honesty hung in the air. No threats, no posturing, just fact. Anjeza laughed, genuine this time. I respect this. You are not politician, not liar. You say what you mean. She extended her hand. We have deal. My resources, your war, and may Vought burn in hell. Android 18 shook her hand, the alliance sealed. First priority, Butcher said, pulling out files. We need secure broadcast location, multiple internet connections, backup power, and defenses that can hold against the Seven for at least 2 hours. Anjeza pulled up a map on her tablet. I have place, old factory in Red Hook, Brooklyn. I use it for other business, but it has what you need. Reinforced structure, underground tunnels for escape, and enough weapons to fight small war. Perfect, Huey said, already typing. If I can get satellite uplinks and hardline connections, I can create a broadcast that would take Vought days to shut down completely. Even if they cut one feed, Sates mirrors will keep spreading the information. When do we broadcast? asked. Tomorrow night, Android 18 said. Gives Huey time to prepare and us time to fortify the location. Tomorrow, MM's eyes widened. That's 20 hours. We need momentum. Android 18 pointed at the news coverage still playing on the tablet. Vought's spinning narrative right now. Every hour we wait, they control more of the story. We hit them fast, we hit them with everything, and we don't give them time to respond. Frenchie clapped his hands. I love the urgency. Très magnifique. I will prepare explosives, many explosives, for when they inevitably attack. No one's dying in this broadcast, Android 18 said firmly. We expose them, not become them. Bah, the explosives are for deterrence, no? A little boom-boom to make them think twice about attacking. Kimiko signed something, and Huey translated. She wants to know the broadcast content. What exactly are we revealing? Butcher pulled up files on his laptop, years of accumulated evidence. Everything. Names of Vought executives involved in illegal trials, locations of all black sites, financial records showing government bribes, video evidence of soup crimes covered up, testimony from freed prisoners, and the crown jewel. He opened a classified file. Aitiki say. Internal Vought communications discussing acceptable casualty rates for compound Phi testing. They wrote that down? Huey looked sick. Corporations always document their crimes, makes accounting easier. Butcher's smile was vicious. We're going to read their own words back to them, live worldwide. Let them try to spin that. Android 18 studied the files, page after page of human suffering quantified in corporate language. Test subject mortality rates, profit projections from hero licensing, strategy memos discussing media manipulation. It reminded her of red ribbon army documents she'd found after destroying their headquarters, evil wrapped in bureaucracy. This will destroy them, she said quietly. That's the idea, love. No, I mean legally destroy them. Criminal charges, congressional investigations, international sanctions. Android 18 looked up. You're not just exposing crimes, you're giving prosecutors everything they need to dismantle the company piece by piece. Assuming prosecutors aren't bought off, said carefully, Vought owns a lot of people. They can't own everyone. Android 18 stood. The broadcast goes worldwide. International media, foreign governments, UN observers make it too big to bury. Angeza nodded approvingly. Smart. Americans can be corrupted easily, but when whole world watches, much harder to hide. They spent the next hour coordinating logistics. Angeza provided floor plans for the Red Hook factory, lists of available weapons, and contact information for technical specialists who could help Huey. Frenchie sketched defensive positions, evacuation routes, and strategic choke points. Calculated how long they could hold against various threat levels. Tyler sat quietly through it all, flames dancing across his hands in rhythm with his anxiety. Android 18 noticed and sat beside him. Scared? She asked quietly. Yeah, Tyler admitted. What if they attack during the broadcast? What if I lose control again? Then I'll protect you, and if you do lose control. Android 18 created a small energy barrier between them. I'll contain it. No one gets hurt. You're always protecting people. Tyler looked at her curiously. Don't you ever want someone to protect you? The question caught Android 18 off guard. In her world, she had Krillin, her daughter, a family that made her invulnerable, heart vulnerable. Here she had allies, but no one close, no one she trusted completely. Sometimes, she admitted, but right now, protecting others is enough. Tyler's flames subsided slightly. After we beat Vought, if we beat them, what happens to me? Whatever you want, new life, new name, somewhere they can never find you. Android 18 ruffled his hair gently. Or you stay with me, learn control. Become more than what they made you. I'd like that, the second one. Then that's what we'll do. Butcher's voice cut through their moment. Right, we're set. Factory's prepped, tech's being installed tonight, and broadcast goes live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, prime time. Vought will mobilize everything once we start, said. The 7, federal agents, maybe military. Let them. Android 18 walked to the basement's exit. I've been holding back because I didn't want to kill, but if they push hard enough, her hand crackled with energy. I'll show them what happens when you back a weapon into a corner. They left the Albanian social club as night claimed New York. Above ground, police helicopters circled, searching for Android 18. News vans camped outside Vought Tower. The city buzzed with tension. Everyone knew something was coming. A confrontation, a reckoning. In Vought Tower's executive suite, Madeline Stillwell watched the same news coverage with cold calculation. Ashley stood nearby, tablet clutched defensively. She's made contact with the Albanian mob, Ashley reported. Our informants confirmed it. Criminals and terrorists working together, perfect. Stillwell smiled. Spin that. Make sure every outlet runs with Android 18 allies with organized crime. Already done, but Madeline, Ashley hesitated. The internet traffic. People are questioning our narrative. They're asking about the freed prisoners, where they went, what we were doing with them. Then we flood the zone with new stories, stage a rescue, have the 7 save civilians from a manufactured threat, remind people why they need heroes. And if Android 18 attacks during the staged rescue, Stillwell's smile widened. Then we finally have justification to deploy lethal force. No more restraint, no more capture orders. She pulled up files on her computer, contingency plans marked Project Override. If she interferes, we activate every asset, including the ones we've kept secret. Ashley's face went pale. You mean, I mean everything. Stillwell closed the files. She wants war? She'll get war. And when it's over, Vought International will still be standing. We always are. But in a Red Hook factory, as Android 18 and the boys prepared their broadcast, a different truth was being assembled. Evidence, testimony, documentation, the kind of truth that couldn't be killed with violence or buried with money. The kind of truth that destroyed empires, 20 hours until broadcast, and Vought had no idea what was coming. The Red Hook factory hummed with activity. Huey had transformed the abandoned industrial space into a broadcast center, satellite uplinks, backup generators, redundant internet connections routed through a dozen countries. Frenchie reinforced entry points with enough explosives to make breaching costly. coordinated defensive positions. Kimiko patrolled the perimeter, her enhanced senses alert for approaching threats. Android 18 stood on the factory's roof, scanning the horizon. 7 hours until broadcast. Vought knew something was happening. Increased surveillance flights, federal agents positioning throughout Brooklyn, energy signatures converging that suggested the 7 were mobilizing. They'd come. The only question was when. Tyler joined her on the roof, flames dancing nervously across his arms. Huey says we're almost ready. He's running final tests. Good. Android 18 sensed the boy's anxiety. You don't have to stay for this. Can take you somewhere safe. I want to stay. Tyler's voice carried unexpected determination. Those people at Sage Grove at sublevel 41, they had no choice, no voice, but I do. I want to tell people what Vought did, what they're still doing. Android 18 studied him, 8 years old but aged by trauma into something older. You'll be a target. Vought will discredit you, call you a liar, maybe worse. Let them try. Tyler met her eyes. You taught me I get to choose. I choose to fight. Before Android 18 could respond, Butcher's voice crackled through the comm system. 18, we got company. 3 black SUVs approaching from the east, federal plates. How many? Looks like 12 agents, no supes yet. I'll handle it. Android 18 descended from the roof in a controlled fall, landing lightly in the factory's main floor. Everyone stay inside, don't engage unless necessary. She walked out the factory's main entrance as the SUVs screeched to a halt 50 feet away. Agents emerged, tactical gear, assault rifles, body armor, professional, disciplined, scared. The lead agent raised a megaphone. Android 18, you are under arrest for terrorism, assault on federal officers, and conspiracy against the United States. Surrender now. Android 18 crossed her arms. No. We have authorization for lethal force. Then use it. The agents hesitated. They'd seen the footage, watched her walk through gunfire, throw A-Train through buildings, defeat 3 members of the 7 simultaneously. Their weapons suddenly felt inadequate. Last warning. The agent's voice cracked slightly. Android 18 raised one hand. Energy crackled between her fingers, visible, threatening, undeniable. You have families, people who love you. Go home to them. This isn't your fight. We have orders. Your orders will get you killed. Android 18's voice carried absolute certainty. I don't want to hurt you, but I will defend myself and the people inside this building. Walk away. The agents exchanged glances. Training versus survival instinct. Duty versus self-preservation. Then the lead agent lowered his megaphone and spoke into his radio. Target is non-compliant and demonstrating superhuman abilities, requesting enhanced asset support. Acknowledged, a voice crackled back. The 7 en route. ETA 12 minutes. The agents retreated to their vehicles but didn't leave, establishing a perimeter waiting for backup. Smart. They'd recognized an unwinnable fight and delayed until reinforcements arrived. Android 18 returned inside. The 7 are coming, 12 minutes. Butcher checked his watch. Broadcast isn't ready. We need at least 2 more hours. Then we hold for 2 hours. Android 18 moved to the center of the factory floor. Huey, how long can you keep broadcasting if they cut power? Generators will last 6 hours, but if they destroy the satellite uplinks, they won't get close enough. Android 18 looked at each of them. When the 7 arrive, I engage outside, keep them away from the building. You finish preparations and start the broadcast as soon as possible. You can't fight all of them alone, MM said. Even you have limits. Maybe, but they don't know what those limits are. Android 18's hands crackled with energy. And fear is a powerful weapon. Kimiko signed something urgently. Huey translated. She says fighting defensively puts you at disadvantage. Better to strike first. No, we're not the aggressors. Android 18's voice was firm. They attack, we defend. Clear lines, clear moral high ground. Moral high ground doesn't stop Homelander's laser vision, Butcher muttered. No, but it stops him from using it at full power. He still cares about image, about being seen as a hero. Android 18 smiled coldly. That's his weakness. He can't fight at full capacity because the cameras are always watching. 8 minutes. Android 18 walked back outside. The federal agents had established positions behind their vehicles. Weapons trained on the factory entrance. News helicopters circled overhead. Media had caught wind of the standoff. Good. More witnesses. She stood in the open, arms crossed, waiting. 5 minutes. The sound came first, sonic booms echoing across Brooklyn. Then they appeared, 7 figures descending from the sky in formation. Homelander led, cape billowing dramatically. Beside him, Queen Maeve A-Train, limping slightly from their previous encounter. Black Noir, the Deep, recalled from exile. Starlight, newest member, clearly uncomfortable. And bringing up the rear, Stormfront, the controversial hero Vought had quietly reactivated. They landed in a semicircle around Android 18, blocking escape routes. Homelander's smile was all teeth and madness. His face still showed faint bruising from their last fight, the first time he'd been marked. Round 3, Homelander said, except this time you're outnumbered. Android 18 scanned them quickly. Homelander, strongest, most dangerous, unstable. Maeve, skilled but conflicted. A-Train, fast but fragile. Black Noir, lethal but limited. The Deep, aquatic powers, minimal threat here. Starlight, light manipulation, inexperienced. Stormfront, electricity and flight. Nazi sympathies, extremely dangerous mindset. 7 against 1, Android 18 said calmly. Hardly seems fair. For you, Stormfront added, electricity crackling around her hands. Should have stayed in whatever shithole dimension you crawled from. Android 18 ignored the provocation. Last chance. Walk away. No one has to get hurt. We're not walking anywhere. Homelander's eyes began to glow red. You embarrassed me. You attacked federal agents. You're a terrorist. And I'm going to make you pay for… Homelander, Maeve's voice cut through his monologue. Cameras! He glanced up at the news helicopters, then back at Android 18. His smile returned, calculated for the audience. You're right. Can't have America seeing their greatest hero lose his temper. His voice dropped to a whisper only she could hear. But once the cameras are gone, I'm gonna make you scream. Android 18 didn't respond. She simply settled into a fighting stance. Homelander interpreted her silence as fear, his first mistake. 7-on-1, he announced loudly for the cameras. Surrender peacefully and we'll make sure you get a fair trial. Android 18's response was to create 2 energy spheres in her palms, larger than before, pulsing with barely restrained power. The air around her shimmered with heat. So that's a no. Homelander turned to his team. Subdue her, non-lethal if possible, lethal if necessary. They attacked in coordination, the Seven's training and experience evident in their tactics. A-Train blurred forward for a speed blitz. Black Noir threw flashbangs to disorient. The Deep tried to call nearby water. Starlight fired light blasts. Stormfront launched lightning. Maeve charged with a new weapon. And Homelander fired his laser vision from above. Against any normal opponent, the assault would have been instantly fatal. Android 18 wasn't normal. She moved through their attacks like water through stones, effortless, untouchable. A-Train's superspeed punches hit empty air as she sidestepped with casual precision. Black Noir's flashbangs detonated harmlessly against her energy barrier. Starlight's light blasts were absorbed and redirected. Stormfront's lightning crackled across her skin without effect. Android 18 had been struck by gods. What was electricity? Homelander's laser vision struck her crossed forearms. She didn't even move, just let the beams dissipate against her defenses. Then she counterattacked. A-Train came in for another speed run. Android 18 caught him mid-stride by the ankle, used his momentum to spin him, and hurled him into the deep. Both supes crashed into a shipping container 300 feet away. Black Noir tried close-quarters combat. Android 18 disarmed him in 3 moves, struck pressure points that would keep him conscious but immobile, and set him down carefully. Not dead. Never dead. Starlight hesitated, clearly uncomfortable attacking someone who hadn't hurt civilians. That hesitation saved her. Android 18 fired a warning shot past her head, close enough to feel the heat, not close enough to injure. Stay down, Android 18 told her. This isn't your fight. Starlight backed away slowly, hands raised. That left 4. Homelander, Maeve, Stormfront, and a recovering A-Train. She's too fast, A-Train gasped, clutching bruised ribs. Faster than me, how is she? Shut up! Stormfront fired a massive lightning bolt. She's not invincible. Nothing is. The lightning struck Android 18 directly. For a moment, electricity engulfed her completely, a brilliant display of raw power. The news helicopters captured every second. When the lightning faded, Android 18 stood untouched. My turn, she said quietly. She appeared in front of Stormfront faster than the cameras could track. One punch, carefully measured, precisely calculated, struck the Nazi supe in the stomach. Stormfront's eyes bulged. She flew backward, crashing through a warehouse wall. Maeve attacked from behind, honorable in words, pragmatic in combat. Her sword swing was perfect, lethal, aimed to decapitate. Android 18 caught the blade between 2 fingers, metal screamed, the sword shattered. You're better than this, Android 18 said, meeting Maeve's eyes. You don't believe in Vought. You don't believe in him. She nodded toward a Homelander. So why are you fighting? Maeve's expression cracked, just for a moment. regret, shame. Then it hardened again. Because I have to. No, you choose to. Android 18 released the broken sword and pushed Maeve back. Firm, but not harmful. The warrior woman stumbled, but didn't fall. Now only Homelander remained standing. His team defeated or retreating around him. The news helicopters captured it all. The Seven, America's mightiest heroes, beaten by one woman. Homelander's smile was gone, replaced by something primal, rage. You think you're special? His voice shook with barely controlled fury. You think because you're from another dimension, you're better than me? I'm Homelander. I'm the strongest. No. Android 18 interrupted. You're the strongest person Vought created. That's not the same thing. She flew up to meet him at eye level. No technology, no visible propulsion, just impossible defiance of gravity. They hovered face to face, cape to denim, god complex to genuine power. Hit me, Android 18 said. Full strength, everything you have, prove I'm wrong. Homelander's eyes blazed. His fists drew back. And he threw the hardest punch of his life, every ounce of compound V-enhanced strength channeled into one devastating blow. Android 18 caught it in her palm. The shockwave rippled outward, shattering windows for 3 blocks. But Android 18 didn't move, didn't budge. She just held his fist, absorbing power that could flatten buildings. Not enough, she said quietly. Then she squeezed. Homelander screamed as bones cracked. She released him and he fell, not thrown, just dropped. He crashed into the pavement hard enough to crater it, clutching his broken hand, tears streaming from eyes that had never known pain. Android 18 descended slowly, landing beside his prone form. She spoke loudly enough for the cameras. This is what Vought sells you, a man in a cape who they call a god, but gods don't bleed, gods don't break. Gods don't cry. She looked up at the news helicopters. He's just a man who was given power without wisdom, and that makes him the most dangerous kind of weapon. She turned and walked back toward the factory, leaving the Seven defeated behind her. From inside, Butcher's voice crackled through her earpiece. Holy shit, that was... I don't even have words. Did you get it all? Android 18 asked. Every second, already uploading to the broadcast queue. Huey's voice was shaking with adrenaline. We're ready. We can go live now. Android 18 looked back at the scene. The Seven scattered, federal agents in shock, news helicopters broadcasting to millions. The perfect moment. Do it, she said. Tell them everything. And as sirens wailed and Vought scrambled to respond, the boys began their broadcast. Every crime, every secret, every lie. The world was about to learn what heroes really looked like, and what corporations pretending to be heroes actually were. The broadcast went live at 6:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 13 minutes ahead of schedule, while Vought was still scrambling to respond to the Seven's public defeat. Huey had routed the stream through 63 different servers across 40 countries, every social media platform, every independent news network, every forum and message board that would host it. Within 90 seconds, 3 million people were watching. Within 5 minutes, 50 million. The feed opened on Butcher's face, sitting at a makeshift desk inside the factory. Good evening, he began, his British accent crisp and controlled. My name is Billy Butcher. For 3 years, I've investigated Vought International's crimes. Tonight, we're showing you everything. The screen split. Butcher on one side, documents scrolling on the other, internal Vought communications, financial records, video footage from black sites, testimony from freed prisoners. Vought tells you they create heroes, Butcher continued. They're lying, they create weapons, and they've been doing it through illegal human experimentation for decades. Android 18 watched from the factory floor, monitoring energy signatures across the city. Vought Tower blazed with activity, dozens of enhanced individuals mobilizing, federal agencies coordinating responses. But they were too late. The information was already spreading faster than they could contain it. Tyler sat beside her, flames dancing across his hands as he watched himself appear on screen. Huey had recorded his testimony earlier. The boy's voice, "Spies. Word. Been months in a pee. Drugs? Be the other children who died during testing." "That's me," Tyler whispered. "Everyone's going to see. Everyone's going to know the truth," Android 18 corrected gently. "You're brave, Tyler. Braver than most adults." On screen, the broadcast shifted to Dr. Park's testimony. Huey had convinced her to speak after the Sublevel 41 breach. The scientist's voice shook as she described Compound 5 protocols, acceptable mortality rates, and the executive orders authorizing experiments on minors. "We were told it was necessary," Park said, tears streaming, "that we were advancing science, creating the next generation of heroes, but we were creating weapons and destroying lives." MM appeared next, presenting financial evidence. VOD International has paid over $2 billion in secret settlements. Families of people killed by supes, victims of botched experiments, witnesses who saw too much. They buy silence, they buy compliance, they buy America's heroes. The broadcast continued for 17 minutes before VOD's first counterattack hit. Android 18 sensed them coming. 40 enhanced individuals approaching from multiple directions, not the 7. They were still recovering. These were B-list supes, corporate assets, expendable. "Huey," she called out. "How long can you maintain broadcast under attack?" "As long as the equipment stays intact." Huey's fingers flew across keyboards. "We're mirrored on hundreds of servers. They can destroy this location, but they can't stop the information." "Then they'll try to destroy this location." Android 18 moved toward the entrance. "Everyone except Huey, evacuate through the tunnels, now!" "I'm not leaving you," Butcher started. "You are, because if you die, who tells the next story?" Android 18's voice carried absolute authority. "Go, I'll hold them." MM grabbed Tyler, Frenchie gathered equipment, Kimiko signed quick agreement. Even Butcher, cursing viciously, moved toward the escape tunnels. Only Huey remained, frantically maintaining connections as the broadcast continued. 2 minutes, he said without looking up. "Just give me 2 more minutes to secure the final uploads." The factory's north wall exploded inward. 20 supes poured through, a coordinated assault team. Some flew, others ran with super speed. A few teleported directly inside. They came with corporate efficiency, targeting the broadcast equipment systematically. Android 18 met them head-on. The first wave never reached the equipment. She moved through them like wind through grass, striking pressure points, breaking weapons, redirecting attacks. A strongman tried to grapple her. She threw him through the ceiling. A teleporter appeared behind her. She sensed the spatial distortion and backhanded him unconscious before he fully materialized. 1 minute, Huey shouted, still typing. The second wave came from above, flyers trying to drop explosives on the broadcast station. Android 18 launched herself upward, catching 3 of them mid-flight. She spun using their momentum and hurled them into the East River a mile away, not lethal, just removed from the battlefield. 30 seconds. A speedster made it past her defenses, faster than A-Train, more desperate. He reached the broadcast equipment and began smashing servers. Android 18 crossed the distance in a microsecond, grabbed him by the collar and threw him out the hole in the north wall. Done! Huey slammed his laptop closed. Everything's uploaded, every document, every testimony, every piece of evidence. It's all live and mirrored. Then run. Android 18 created an energy barrier around them both as more supes crashed through the remaining walls. They sprinted toward the tunnel entrance. Kimiko appeared from the darkness, grabbing Huey and pulling him into the underground passage. Android 18 turned to face the 40 remaining attackers. "Last chance," she called out. "Walk away! This fight is over." A woman with crystalline armor stepped forward, apparently the team leader. "We have orders. Take you down by any means necessary." "Vought's orders," Android 18 said. "They're lying to you, using you, just like they used everyone else. We know what we're doing." But the woman's voice wavered slightly. "You're a threat to America. I'm a threat to Vought's profits." Android 18's hands crackled with energy. "There's a difference." She fired a single blast, not at the supes, but at the factory's support columns. The structure groaned, metal screamed, the building began to collapse. "Evacuate!" the crystalline woman shouted. "Everyone out!" The supes scattered, fleeing the collapsing factory. Android 18 flew up through the crumbling roof, watching the structure fold in on itself, the broadcast equipment destroyed, but its purpose served. The information was already spreading across the world, unstoppable, undeniable. She landed a block away where the boys waited in a stolen van, Butcher at the wheel, already moving before she touched ground. She dropped through the sunroof, settling into a seat as they sped through Brooklyn streets. "Did it work?" MM asked immediately. Huey pulled up his laptop. 73 million views and climbing, trending on every platform. Major news networks are picking it up. International media is requesting comment, and he laughed incredulously. 3 senators just called for emergency hearings on Vought. Vought's stock is down 18%, Frenchie added, checking his phone, and dropping. Android 18 allowed herself a small smile. They'd done it. Exposed the truth to a world that had been sold lies, but she knew the war wasn't over. "Vought will respond," she said. "They'll spin this, call everything fake, discredit the witnesses." "Let them try." Butcher's grin was vicious. "We've got 73 freed prisoners ready to testify. We've got Dr. Park singing like a canary. We've got footage of you beating the 7 in front of cameras. And we've got millions of people who just watched corporate heroes try to silence the truth with violence." Tyler spoke up from his position squeezed between MM and Kimiko. "What happens now?" Now. Android 18 looked at the boy who'd survived hell and chosen to speak truth. "Now we make sure this matters. We protect the witnesses. We support the investigations. We make sure Vought can't bury this like they've buried everything else." "And if they send the 7 again?" Tyler asked. "Then I remind them what happens when bullies push too far." They drove through the night, ditching the van 3 times, switching vehicles, using Angeza's network to disappear into New York's vast underground. News coverage exploded across every screen. Pundits debating, experts analyzing, politicians positioning themselves on the right side of history now that the truth was undeniable. In Vought Tower, Madeline Stillwell watched her empire crumble on live television. Ashley stood nearby, tablet clutched like a lifeline, tears streaming down her face. "It's over," Ashley whispered. "The stock's in free fall. Partners are pulling contracts. The Justice Department announced a formal investigation. Madeline, it's over." "It's not over." Stillwell's voice was ice. "We've survived scandals before. We'll survive this." "This isn't a scandal. This is documented evidence of decades of crimes. They have everything." Then we go to Plan Omega. Stillwell pulled up classified files. Projects so secret even most of Vaught's board didn't know they existed. "If we're going down, we're taking her with us." "What is Plan Omega?" Stillwell smiled, cold and terrible. "Insurance. We've been developing contingencies since the moment she appeared. Assets that can neutralize any threat, even her." But she was wrong about one thing. Android 18 wasn't a threat to neutralize. She was a force of nature that couldn't be bought, threatened, or controlled. And now that she'd tasted this world's corruption, she wouldn't stop until every cage was opened and every lie exposed. In a safe house in Queens, Albanian-owned Gas Anonymous, Android 18 stood by a window watching news helicopters circle the Red Hook ruins. Tyler slept on a couch nearby, flames finally dormant. The boys planned their next moves in hushed tones. Butcher approached with a beer. She declined as always. "You did good tonight. Better than good. You changed the fucking game." "The game's not over." "No." Butcher agreed. But for the first time in 3 years, I think we might actually win. Android 18 studied the city below. Millions of people who'd just learned their heroes were corporate products. Some would deny it. Some would defend Vought out of habit or investment. But enough would believe, enough would act. Truth was a powerful weapon, and she'd just armed an entire planet with it. "What about you?" Butcher asked. "When this is over, when Vought's buried, what then? You still planning to go home?" Android 18 thought of her world, Krillin, morale, the life she'd built after choosing humanity over programming. She wanted to return, desperately. But first she had work to finish here. "When the prisoners are safe," she said quietly. "When Tyler and the others like him can live without fear. When Vought can never cage another person," she turned to Butcher. "Then I'll find a way home. And if you can't, if you're stuck here," Android 18 smiled, small but genuine, "then I'll make this world better, the same way I made my world better. One cage at a time, one lie exposed, one bully reminded that power without accountability is just tyranny in a cape." She'd been a weapon once. Now she was something more dangerous to corporate empires and false heroes. She was someone who refused to kneel. And in a world where heroes were bought and sold, that made her the most dangerous person alive. The fallout took weeks to fully unfold. Vought International stock collapsed by 67% in 3 days. 12 board members resigned. Criminal investigations opened in 43 countries. The 7 disbanded. Homelander disappeared into custody. Maeve retired and began testifying. Starlight joined independent hero coalitions. Compound V's formula became public knowledge, ending Vought's monopoly. Most importantly, every black site was raided, every prisoner freed, every name documented. Android 18 didn't participate in the legal proceedings. She'd done what she came to do, break the cages and expose the truth. The rest was humanity's responsibility, their world, their justice system, their chance to choose better. She spent those weeks training Tyler and others like him, teaching control, demonstrating that power without purpose was just destruction in different clothes. The boy who'd accidentally killed 6 people learned to contain his flames, then create beauty with them, art made of fire and light. On a cold November morning, Huey approached her with news. "We found something, dimensional research. One of Vought's secret projects involves studying cross-dimensional energy signatures. We think we can get you home." Android 18 looked at Tyler, now confident, controlled, ready to live rather than just survive. Looked at the boys, fractured people who'd found purpose in resistance. Looked at the city that had feared her, then celebrated her, then simply accepted her as another part of its complicated story. "How long?" she asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. We need to rebuild some equipment from the factory." "Do it." The portal opened on a Wednesday, crackling with energy that felt like home. Android 18 stood at the threshold between dimensions. The boys and freed prisoners gathered to see her off. Butcher extended his hand. "You saved a lot of people, changed a lot of minds." "You did the hard part," she replied, shaking it. "I just made noise. You built the truth." Tyler approached last, flames dancing harmlessly across his hands in patterns he'd learned to create. "Thank you for everything." "Be better than what they made you," Android 18 said. "That's all that matters." She stepped toward the portal, then paused, turned back. "If Vought returns, if anyone tries to cage people again, we'll handle it," MM promised. "You taught us well." Android 18 nodded once, then stepped through the portal. Between dimensions, she caught a glimpse of both worlds, one where corporate heroes pretended to care and one where real warriors fought without payment or praise. Different universes, same struggle. She emerged in familiar space, key signatures blazing all around her. Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, her husband's energy calling her home. And as the portal closed behind her, Android 18 smiled. She'd been a weapon, then a wife, then a mother. Now she was something else entirely. Proof that even in the darkest corporate dystopia, even when heroes were products and truth was commodity, someone with power and principle could still change everything. Some people can't be bought, can't be threatened, can't be controlled, and when they fight, empires fall. May the Force be with you. More stories await.